Life is a beautiful madness. You can move faster, you could say static. Life is a beautiful madness. You can move faster, you could say static. Let's get dramatic. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel guys. It's your boy SlyLancey, and today we're gonna bring you a new topic to the channel, even though we kind of covered this topic a couple of times already. But we will be talking about Gwenpool. Now, for those of you that don't know, recently I've gotten into the character of Gwenpool a lot thanks to Fortnite, and because of Fortnite, I ended up reading pretty much almost every comic that she has out ever since that moment, which was sometime around, September last year? August, September last year, but yeah. So yeah, I've come to really love Gwenpool's character, and I love her design, and I love the fact that if you actually read her comics, she is not a Deadpool variant at all. At least in the first run. The second and third runs, not so much. But the very first run that she had, the Unbelievable Gwenpool, she is just an absolutely boss of a character that has a bit more story to her than even the original Deadpool run had. And so because of this, we're going to be talking about her first run, and we're going to be ranking what I believe are the top 10 best issues from her first run. Now, when I initially was going to do this video, I wanted to rank not every comic, but I wanted to rank just top 10 Gwenpool comics in general that has her in it. But part of me was kind of like, outside of her first run, all the issues outside of her first run are kind of like hit or miss. And I mean, there's a lot of misses. But there still are a couple of hits here or there. I could talk about that a different day, but for now, I'm just gonna stick to, the Unbelievable run, because there's a lot of great stories in the Unbelievable run. So for today's video, guys, we're gonna be ranking the top 10 Unbelievable Gwenpool issues. Number 10. Unbelievable number 19. In this issue, Gwen is highly sought after and wanted by every Marvel superhero in that universe. She attempts to flee and run away a couple of times, but to no avail, ended up getting captured by Miles Morales' Spider-Man in the process. It isn't until after she gets captured and then sees behind Miles Morales what is actually going on that we see who the real enemy is. The Dark Gwenpool. This issue gets number 10 on the list because it's finally showing how Gwen's actions throughout this run is finally catching up to her, and the consequences are becoming bigger than even she could have imagined. Especially when you get to the moment with Miles Morales' Spider-Man literally wanted to kill her, which is something he never does or any of the Spider-Man do, along with Gwen looking behind Miles to see what she had truly become because of her own actions and what would happen if she went down a certain path. Number 9. Unbelievable number 10. In this comic, we get the introduction of the Pool Boys. Now, let me tell you something. I absolutely love this comic, and I love the action sequences in this particular issue. And we even get to see Ronnie, Gwenpool's costume designer. She opens up a bit more and becomes a bit more loving towards Gwen and sees her as a daughter. But yeah, not to stray too far away from the actual topic here, Gwen in this issue has to stop an alien armada from basically destroying the city, and basically the Pool Boys are there to help along with Cecile and her other running mates. And while they manage to defeat the armada, it's a bittersweet victory because most of the Pool Boys get arrested and Gwen's group disbands temporarily, unfortunately. And I'm not gonna lie, seeing Gwen get that emotional and upset over the team disbanding, especially with Cecile of all people leaving because that's her closest companion, it was very heartbreaking to see. But again, I love that they had Ronnie be like a bit of a stepmother towards Gwen in this moment because she definitely needed it. Number 8. Unbelievable number 16. Remember when I said in the last entry where Ronnie basically became like a stepmother to Gwen? Well, there's a crucial reasoning for that. It's because we learn in issue number 16 that we learn of Gwen's origins. We learn in this issue that Gwen is a high school dropout because she felt isolated after her friends moved away and went on to college. So because of this, she became very estranged with her family, her father most notably being incredibly harsh on her for not having a career path or discipline to do anything in life. Because of the estrangement with her family, she found solace in reading comic books, and hopefully one day she could maybe become a worker in the comic industry, whether it be drawing comics or writing stories for comics. We also learned in this issue that apparently it was Gwen's brother's fault that Gwen got stuck in the Marvel Universe actually, because apparently when they were doing some kind of trip or something, Teddy's brother accidentally set off a machine that would send Gwenpool into the comic book world, thus giving us the Gwenpool that we know and love today. What I love about this issue is that it's not only thought-provoking, but it actually can be very, very relatable to the reader in general. Anybody who reads comic books or plays video games most times use that fictional stuff to escape reality because of how tough the real world is. So this issue definitely speaks a lot to readers in general, especially for someone like me. And also, an Easter egg I want to throw out there as well is that if you listen to Gwenpool's theme song in Fortnite, it basically encapsulates how she's feeling about living in the real world. Number 7. Unbelievable number 13. The crossover everybody was expecting. Gwenpool versus Deadpool. Okay, so let's just get this out the way. Gwenpool is no match for Deadpool in any fight whatsoever. We all should know this by now. So it's no surprise that, Gwenpool gets her ass handed to by Deadpool when they're fighting. However, what I do want to talk about is how we learned that Gwenpool has never read a single Deadpool comic. Normally when a writer does something like this, where they try to make a variant not seem like an actual variant, they go about it in a very cheesy or uninteresting way. But Chris Hastings is such a great writer, he goes about it in a way that doesn't feel forced by any means whatsoever. So after their scrap and coming to the realization that Gwenpool is literally just 19 years old, Deadpool relinquishes her and works with her to help her accomplish her mission. Given how after the Unbelievable series Gwenpool would unfortunately become more like Deadpool with each iteration that she comes in, this particular moment with Deadpool and Gwenpool was by far the best one that they've had, because Gwen was her own character and was not held bound by what Deadpool had to offer. Something that I and a lot of people like myself feel is lost in Gwenpool's most recent runs. Number 6. Unbelievable number 4. After seeing her best friend get killed by the madman MODOK and finally being forced to work for him, Gwenpool finally gets her revenge in this comic. She not only defeats MODOK in a fight, she also manages to revive Cecile with the help of Doctor Strange. After seeing how heartbroken Gwenpool was the entire time between issues 1 and 4 over Cecile and basically being forced into MODOK's work, seeing Gwenpool finally get her revenge on MODOK was absolutely satisfying. Also, seeing Cecile be brought back to life, at least somewhat, was another euphoric thing for the readers too. This comic ends volume 1 of Gwenpool on a very strong note, and it opens the door for how much more impact Gwenpool's gonna have on readers in the future going forward. Number 5. Unbelievable number 20. In this comic, we get to see Gwenpool versus her evil darker version, Dark Gwenpool. These two have a brief conversation before it goes into a full-fledged brawl between the two, with Gwenpool obviously being outclassed by Dark Gwenpool, and the only thing being able to stop Dark Gwenpool is the fact that Gwenpool herself rejects the future that she's supposed to have, while also pushing Dark Gwenpool into the gutter, erasing her from history for good. However, the term Pyrrhic victory ends up being the coin term for this, because unfortunately for Gwen, she loses her brother again, not knowing where he went, and she also learns that her parents aren't actually in the comic themselves. However, Miles Morales' Spider-Man not remembering anything after Dark Gwenpool got erased from history is definitely a bonus victory. This comic ranks number 5 for me because of how it played an important role of what would happen in the future of this comic series. If Gwen had chose to go down the Dark Gwenpool path, there probably would have been a few extra issues going into this series, but because she rejected it, she ended up getting less issues in the process. It's funny how something like that could easily be seen as a fourth wall break, or at the same time, maybe it's just, Christopher Hastings, being a bit more, creative in his writing, but it's that type of writing that makes this comic so great to me. Number 4. Unbelievable number 17. During this issue, we continue on from issue number 16, which saw Gwen meet up with her family once again, or so it seems, because we learned that in this issue, Gwen apparently never ever left the Marvel Universe. It was just a big bad dream that she was in and having, leading to what would happen much later on in issues number 18, 19, and 20. Okay, so let's just push the story aside a second and let's just talk about the art in this comic. The art alone is absolutely amazing and absolutely creative, and something that I don't think most comic book readers could ever thought was possible. Thanks to the art duo Ogiri Huri, this particular issue sees the best artwork in the entire series by far. I would even say for any Gwenpool comic. Seeing Gwen literally have the ability to erase panels, walk outside of them, have think bubbles or speech bubbles come up and have it literally just like push her out the window so it feels like it's actually real. Again, this art was something that not even Deadpool fans or Deadpool writers could think of back in when Deadpool came out. This is what made Gwenpool so unique in the eyes of so many fans. If the artwork was the actual cake itself, the story is literally the icing and cherry on top of it. Number 3. Unbelievable number 0. Here we are, the comic that started it all for Gwenpool. Even though her first appearance was on a cover, this is the actual first story that we get of Gwenpool. While this comic started out as a Howard the Duck comic, Gwenpool quickly steals the show away from Howard the Duck, basically coming into the comic the same way that Deadpool would and just scuffed it up. We learned in this issue that Black Cat is forcing Howard the Duck to buy this virus off of someone from the dark market, and if he doesn't, she would send him to jail. And that's when Gwenpool strikes, coming in to help Howard the Duck get the Black Cat off his back. But that's not the only thing that happens in this issue. Nope, because in the second half of this issue, we get the holiday special where Gwenpool is basically invited to a superhero holiday party. This is without a doubt one of the most iconic comics in the entire series of Gwenpool's entire history, mainly because with the story that you get in the first half and then the art style you get in the second half, it was like the perfect combination, and it was just a pre-metaphor for how good the Unbelievable run would be when it first came out. Number 2. Unbelievable number 1. Here we are, guys, the very first official comic of Gwenpool. This comic is one of the most iconic in the entire series, even more than number 0, because 1, that art style. Just the front cover alone is enough to get the reader's attention. And then the stories that we get in this comic, it's very, very subtle but very sweet, to the point, not over the top. This comic is like a perfect blend of everything that you need perfect in a comic for it to do well. The art style, a good story, and the right timing. We get to see more of Ronnie, who's basically like an Edna Mode to Gwenpool, and we also get to see Gwenpool's closest ally in this comic, Cecile, and the first big threat that Gwen will have to deal with, MODOK. All of these elements combined together make for a great comic and a great first issue. Could it easily been the best one? Yes. But there's one more comic that I think is better than number 1, in my personal opinion. But before we get to that one, let's do a recap. And we're going to do the honorable mentions as well, because like many other good comic runs, there's a lot of great issues within a comic run. There was definitely a few comics that could have made this list, but just missed out just barely.
They say in this life, if you can't do, you watch.
Unbelievable number 23. We get Gwenpool versus a variant of Doctor Doom. Unbelievable number 6. Gwenpool and Miles Morales team up. Unbelievable number 24. Gwen considers going through that villain arc that she had with Dark Gwenpool, but decides to ultimately goes against it for the greater good. And lastly, Unbelievable number 2. Gwenpool is forced to work for MODOK, and she comes across the female Thor. Also, we get the first appearance of Batroc. Number 1. We are down to number 1. What is the number 1 spot, guys? What's the greatest Gwenpool comic of all time, in my personal opinion? Unbelievable number 25. After basically going through what is essentially an existential life crisis, wondering if her existence will even matter long after this unbelievable run ends, we get what is quite possibly the most beautiful ending possible to any comic book series. Gwenpool ends up meeting an older version of herself, even though she's not really that much older. I would say like probably a year or two older, to let her know that basically she's going to be long remembered long after her comic series ends, which ends up actually being very, very true. The younger current Gwen is still having an outsider's perspective on it, so like she doesn't fully understand how like her memory will still live on long after she's gone. Kind of like a Kobe Bryant-esque kind of memory in which her impact was so great on the number of people she affected that no one will ever forget who she was. That's what older Gwen is basically trying to get through to Gwen. And after taking her on a trip through different pages and panels throughout their entire life, and how younger Gwen and older Gwen are able to fix certain relationships that they have, even brings Cecile's body back, Gwen finally gets to properly reunite with her brother Teddy once again. Little stuff like that being enough to even bring tears to the eyes of the reader. And also with older Gwenpool basically saying you're gonna be in video games, you're gonna be in libraries where these comics are probably lost and people are gonna want to find them and buy them, which basically came true because Gwen is in so many video games now between Fortnite and the Lego series. I mean, there's just no better way to put it. Gwenpool number 25 was a beautiful ending to a very, very incredible first series run, and something that I think a lot of fans wish that either they continued a bit longer with this run or that they had just stopped Gwenpool altogether after this, because what we got with Gwenpool afterwards basically feels like a completely different character. But I'm digressing a bit too far. So in conclusion, Unbelievable Gwenpool number 25 is the best comic in the entire Unbelievable run in my personal opinion. And it is with that, guys, that we are done with today's video, guys. Do you like Gwenpool as a character? Do you not care for her as a character? Comment down below what you thought of this video or what you think about Gwenpool as a character, and I'll try to read them as fast as I can. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching and subscribing and liking the video. It really helps the channel out a ton. And just to give you wind of what my plans are for the future, as you know, I'm working on another Sonic comic. The Mario Plumber comic I'm still trying to do, but that may get pushed back a bit, so I'm not sure. And also I'm trying to work on a Gwenpool comic series as well, but I'm not too sure about it just yet. I gotta see where my schedule's at. But as always, guys, thank you so much for everything you do for the channel, and I hope to see you guys next time. It's your boy SlyLancey, and I'm out.